This is Rashawn Slater, first round draft pick for the LA Chargers, and you're listening to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. Bolt up.
Hello and welcome to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. I'm your host, John Watts Jr., and tonight I'm joined by two of my co-hosts. Mr. John Ayres is at the game, season ticket holder at the SoFi, while us three mere mortals are sat in the UK in the dark, bloodshot eyes, ready for Monday Night Football. How's it going, boys?
Just very tired.
I'm excited. I'm hyped. I'm ready to go to bed and wake up and hopefully avoid all the spoilers and then watch it first thing in the morning about 6 a.m.
There'll be a third quarter lull, you know, when it's about 3:30 in the morning, and then when we hit the fourth quarter, the adrenaline will be pumping, and then you'll be going to bed at 4:30 thinking, what has gone on? We've won or we've lost or we've tied.
You mean the third quarter sponsored by Dan?
Sponsored by Dan, yeah.
I'm just going to avoid the third quarter.
Come on, Dan, what's going to happen today in the third?
That'll be the quarter we miss our field goal in, or miss our extra point.
I think we were a bit harsh on Vizcano on Sunday.
Oh, it was so windy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley both made the comment that it was super windy out there, and obviously you can see the flags on the top of the uprights, but you don't gauge how windy it is. Just sat at home watching on TV. So I'll give him a free pass. We won the game, so yeah, there's gonna be no wind today, is there, in the SoFi? So look, this is a massive game, and I think it feels like there's an almost like, I know it's week 4, but it feels like there's a bit of a playoff vibe about it. Are you guys feeling the same, Bez?
So I'm feeling like this is really, really make or break, not for the playoff chances or the season, because we can recover if we lose. I just feel as if there's loads of momentum building. If the Raiders beat us and they're 4-0, they're the real deal. They're going to feel positive. They're going to think that they've beaten a really good team and that they could sort of make a march in the AFC West. And we're going to be at 2-2, level with the Chiefs and sort of licking our wounds a bit of what could have been. Whereas if we win, I think we're the premier team of the AFC West, and it's in our own hands, and we're going to burst the Raiders bubble. So I feel as if, you know, it's really setting either team up to be the big dogs of the AFC West tonight. And I'm optimistic. I think Carl's bubble's going to have to burst at some point.
Do you reckon his bubble will burst, Dan, or do you reckon he's on a bit of a roll?
I hope it'll burst, but I'm looking at the Raiders' schedule after us. They're at home to the Bears, they're at the Broncos, they're at home to the Eagles, they're at the Giants. That's 4 very winnable games. So if the worst does happen this evening, I could quite easily see them getting to 8-0, which is terrifying.
Well, it is, but I don't know. This league is so unpredictable. You just look at yesterday's scores. You know, the Giants and the Jets both won. When was the last time that happened? 1970? I don't know. But
feels like
you don't know. And I think I'm going to kind of stick up for the Raiders here. I don't think there's enough respect for the Chargers or the Raiders outside of the AFC West.
No, you're right.
You know the established analysts are looking at the AFC West. It's upside down. The Chiefs have had a bit of a rocky start, you know, and we don't deserve to be ahead of them. That's how I feel, just listening to all the narrative that's going around. And I think that's a bit disrespectful. It doesn't worry me that Carr's on a hot streak. We see this every year with somebody. Last year we had the Steelers at 10-0. We had Russell Wilson flying out the traps with the Seahawks, and it all came tumbling down. I'm not interested in the Chargers being absolutely lights out right now. If we keep doing enough to win and we build momentum going down the season, great. I'm happy with that. I'm quite happy that we've got players that are coming into their rhythm but not playing at an MVP level, which is what people talk about already after 4 weeks. That's a sort of a fair assessment, Bez?
I sort of agree. I think we need to. We're building, and you know what's nice? I don't feel any stress. I think we can compete with anybody. I don't think we're, you know, absolutely the elite team of the NFL this year, but we're building and we look quite good and we look organised. I think we've exploded out against the Chiefs with all those turnovers, and we've realised that there's an identity to this defence, which excites me a lot. The blueprint to a playoff win and ultimately the Super Bowl is turnovers. And we really teed off against the best quarterback in the league, allegedly. But I just think there is disrespect. And I think it's up to us to prove to the NFL we're real and that we're not just a good team in a rebuild under a new head coach. And I think this could be a game, Monday Night Football, all eyes on us. I'm quite excited that this is Herbert's big chance on the telly. Everyone's watching him against a team that's leading the division, and we can end up as the number one seed in the entire AFC if we beat them. So the narrative is there, and I kind of think that Herbert's the guy that thrives in that condition. So go prove the analysts wrong, go take the number one seed and show what you're all about. I want to see, when I wake up and I watch the game in full, I want to see every single Twitter and every analyst and every channel going on about Herbert, MVP candidate. It's too early, but I want them to be talking about it.
Yeah, do you agree with that, Dan?
Yeah, totally agree that it's Monday Night Football. Everyone will be watching. He gets the opportunity to go out and show the last week wasn't a fluke. Going out there and beating a team that is currently regarded as one of the best in football. Yes, the Chiefs are on a bit of a downswing, but no one was expecting Herbert to go out there and be the better quarterback. Well,
Half miles.
we were, yeah. We were, but
well, that's the thing. I mean, the Chiefs, you know, they had a bit of swagger. They lost the game. We had Mahomes still with these no-look passes, and he's got every right to do that. Yeah, I know.
For interceptions, may I point out.
It does it does your head in, but you always feel like the Chiefs are going to bounce back and go on a roll. Whereas the Chargers, you know, when I was losing my mind when we were 14 up and we were trailing 17-14, it's like, we need to score some more points. We're not going to win this game. And you always feel like the momentum's with the Chiefs because of the record that they've had over the last 4 or 5 years. And that's where I think we need to start turning the screw now. If we can win another game today, that's great. I'm not really bothered if it's a blowout. I'm not really bothered. It won't be a blowout. I'm not really bothered if it's a close game, as long as we get the win, because it's going to start building momentum and people are going to start listening to what the team are doing, and they're going to start taking notice of, you know, an improved team under Brandon Staley. Aggression is the key. Going for it on fourth down.
I love that as well.
It's brilliant. It's all we.
Isn't it nice having a coach like that?
Well, some of his media conference, he said, we're not here to kick field goals, and he actually said that about the Chiefs. You can't turn up against Kansas City and expect to win by kicking field goals.
True.
But that's basics, you know. We're not experts, or we'd be in the NFL, but even to our eyes, that's basics. Don't leave points on the field. And Staley seems to be a man that wants to go and eat it all up. I mean, Dan, for you, do you think that we can keep digging ourselves out of a hole? Have we got it in our locker, or do you think we need to start establishing a pattern and dominating games?
I think we've got it in us to go out there and to dominate the game and to lead from the get-go. But I do think there's definitely an aspect there to us being able to just fight, which is something that I felt we've lacked definitely for the last few years. I think we're all agreed there that there's just been a case of warm butter and just easing off. I do want to see us go out there, take a lead and keep the lead. I mean, anything different than the start of the Dallas game would be nice. But yes, we dug ourselves back out of that hole, but no one wants to see you go down 14-0 to start the game.
I mean, what's the consensus then, again, with you two guys? Do we want to have the football first, or are we happy to let the Raiders have it and get Joey Bosa and Derwin James out? Bez?
Keep your D off the field. Put the ball in the hands of Herbert. Do you know what? This is the other thing, is that Herbert knows that Staley believes in him because he gives him the
100%.
rock, makes him go for it on fourth down. He knows he's got a quarterback that is incredible. So go and win the toss and get Herbert on the field and go and get a touchdown. And it's just nice not to have to try and limp over the line and settle for field goals. And, what are we doing? We are putting our foot on teams' throats. And you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But I'm happy. I'm happy to have a swashbuckling, saber-wielding head coach who's going to drive us forward and go for it. And if we lose fighting. I trust him. I trust our quarterback. Do you know what I find interesting, John, about this division? I think it's the best in football, the AFC West. You've got I kind of get going back to what you said about this narrative from the analysts. I kind of get it. Like, Mahomes has proved himself, we have to admit. And even though that team probably isn't as good as it has been the last couple of years, he can always win you a game.
Yeah.
You've got the Broncos, who haven't quite got the quarterback right. You know, Bridgewater's doing all right, but the team around him is incredible. And you've got the Raiders.
Is tough.
Oh, it's
Miller.
beautiful defense. Yeah, it's great. And you've got the Raiders, who've got the John Gruden approach, which seems to be working. He's managed to get his players into form, but you kind of feel, out of all the teams in the division, that they're the ones where they're actually fallible and their bubble could pop. Whereas I think, we are the team that could be the real deal out of all of them, where we have the quarterback and the team. Let's go and win the division.
Well, it's interesting because you talk about, we've joked to and fro with you about Herbert not having a sophomore slump. And I think that's the thing with the Raiders. Derek Carr's never really been consistent. He's shown glimpses and now he's started hot. Can he maintain it? I don't think he can. Where we've seen Justin Herbert, he's been consistent all the way through last season, even on a team that didn't really know what they were doing, with a head coach that was like a rabbit in headlights and behind a fragile offensive line. Now we've still got issues, right tackle. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but he's playing much more, how can I put it, in the moment. He's getting used to the tempo of the NFL. And we come to expect that. So I think you're right, Bez. We've got that sort of momentum. We've got that understanding going forward. It's whether or not we can keep our key players healthy, and that's across the board.
Big time.
Look, we've got an issue tonight. Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, they're going to switch sides. One of them's going to line up against Slater. One of them's going to line up against Storm Norton. Dan, are we going to see Jared Cook coming in to help with blocking, because that's going to take away something from our offense?
I think we will. I don't think we'll see much of Pipkins being thrown out there as an extra blocker. But maybe we'll see more of Gabe Neighbors being kind of roped in for the blocking. Layout with more of a fullback kind of setup.
Yeah.
Just throw in some chip blocks there. I mean, that's Eckler's good with the chip box as well. Just get that chip, break out, catch the screen pass or the wheel route, and go. I'd like to see that. Well,
it works both ways, isn't it? Because they've got Alex Leatherwood, and he has not been playing well at all. I think he's allowed 13 pressures. Bez, you reckon that he's going to line up opposite Bosa, or do you reckon Bosa's going to attack the other side? What do you reckon is going to happen?
I'd like to see them move around on the offensive front a little bit, move Bosa around. It's interesting because you go back to our draft coverage, the wonderful, do you know what, the enemy of tonight, I'm just going to make, before I reference him, the Raiders aren't the evil tonight. The enemy is Audible Chocolate John Ayres, who's at this game, premium seats, unbelievable. But he made the point during our draft coverage, Mr. Chocolate, that Leatherwood was a terrible pick by the Raiders and that they were much better offensive linemen at the time, and it's been proven right. He was spot on. Bad pick again by the Raiders. And I think if you get the right matchups, I want to see more from Nwosu. I want to see them rotating players to attack that position and go after their tackles and get at Carr, fluster him, frustrate him. And I think this is not the game that if you're Leatherwood, this is not the game where you put your career on track, unfortunately.
Well, Chuck just caught there. Mike Davis versus Darren Waller is my matchup of the night. I fancy Mike Williams versus Casey Hayward, but Chuck, thank you for your comments there. There's going to be so many different matchups throughout this 60 minutes primetime football. It's going to blink and somebody's going to drop a clanger, and it's going to be that clutch moment where it's like, why on earth did we not capitalize on that part of the game? I mean, Dan, go on. Sorry, Bez.
I was going to say on Chuck's point is that Mike Davis has proven me wrong. I didn't think he was good enough to be a cornerback starting for a team as good as us, and he's done really well. So I reckon he'll thrive. I don't think he'll just be on Waller. I think you're going to see Derwin James attack the football and dominate. You're going to, how our linebackers cover with Tranquil dropping down as well will be really interesting. But I think if I was in fantasy, Darren Waller would not be someone I'd be putting into my lineup with confidence tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's he'll have to keep an eye on Mr. Kaiser White. Could have an interesting time of it today. Josh Jacobs questionable. I think they're going to give him a run out on the turf.
I think he'll get some game time to see if he can hit the ground running, and then if he can, they'll just ride Jacobs. I think we need that run coverage to be better than it has been.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it will with Murray not being there, I don't know. Here's hoping. Here's hoping at least. I think we'll see a lot more of White and Tranquil getting in there and getting mixed in with the tackles on the run, rather than just kind of waiting to pass off a guy in coverage. But hey, it all comes down to Derwin James, doesn't it? Really?
Well, he's the man. I think he's the key to it all. I mean, he's played in practically every position. Apart from
it right there in my jersey, just there.
Look, it is that good, and I don't know whether Staley is going to use him tonight in his main role, or whether he's just going to get him to fill in where we start. If we're leaking in areas, he's that good, so we can do that. But I think for the Raiders, they're going to be thinking like us. We need the ball in Carr's hands. We'll be thinking we need the ball in Herbert's hands. Don't want the defense on the field, but I just don't think we're going to do ourselves any favor if we do what we did against Dallas and penalties, and that's
we have to clean them up. Can I just point something out that I now have a bigger baddie than Mr. Chocolate. Is the new Vikings fan we have on the podcast here.
Oh yeah, with the purple hair,
handsome, loving it.
It's a lot brighter in person as well.
I love it. I mean, I'd like it better if it was had some yellow in there and a 33.
You'll see it in person. You'll see it in person on Sunday.
I can't wait. Looking forward.
I can't believe. Hang on a minute. Let's just. We're going to deviate away from the Chargers game slightly. I can't believe we've all paid to watch the Jets on Sunday.
Yeah,
mate, they're on a roll. They're great.
The Falcons. Oh wow!
Combined 2 wins between the two teams.
Matt Ryan's okay.
What a start!
Yeah. Getting back to the Chargers game.
There's a game.
There's a game. Getting back to the Chargers game. We've got a chance to show everyone what we're made of, because there'll be fans out there that don't pay any attention to what's happening in the FC West. You got the casual fans that just dial in and dial out. There'll be a lot of people turn off at half time if this is a 10-7 game. I mean, look, Tampa Bay, New England was billed by somebody. I'm not going to give them the airtime, but as being one of the greatest games of this century. Yawn, and it didn't turn out to be that case. So I don't really care whether it's a good game or not. I just want us to win. And that's all it's about. We're not going to get any points or any accolades at the end of the season for being the best team in the NFL or the most attractive to watch. We need wins. It's as simple as that. And we can win tonight. I do not fear the Raiders. I'm not saying that they're not a good team or they've not started well, but I do not fear them. I don't get the same feeling as I do when I'm playing the Chiefs. Now, has anyone seen the Between the Barrels, I think it is? Sean Merriman, Lights Out Merriman. He did a check it out on YouTube. He interviewed Derwin James, and he asked Derwin James straight up, who's your biggest rival? He didn't even finish the question, and James answered him, Chiefs, move on. He says, not the Raiders. He went, no, it's Chiefs, because they're the top dog. We need to knock them off their perch.
And we have.
So, well, we have, but it's now. This is the Charger thing, isn't it? There'll be people out there going, yeah, they beat the Chiefs last week. They're not going to beat the Raiders, and they'll do the Charger thing. We've got to prove them wrong, and I think we've got the players to do it.
I think so.
I just hope that we don't get found out at right tackle, because this is a problem. And I'm already now looking at the 2022 draft pick, because we're going to go for an offensive lineman, I think, looking down the stretch.
I'm looking forward to having that debate with you in the off season to death, because I'm going O-line, not O-line, D-line, opposite Bosa. So yeah, we'll have to have that big debate.
Well, we will, but let's just see how we get on tonight. But going back to Owusu, Brandon Staley said in his presser that he trusts him 100%. And when he's saying that, he obviously sees something in him. But there's no point in coming out and saying, that a player isn't up to scratch, or, he's not up to standard. Work with a player. And I think that's one method Staley's got of coming out publicly and saying that he trusts his roster. So let's see what Nwosu does today. He's got a great opportunity to make some plays, because look, their offensive line is brittle at times, as we found out. I mean, 8 sacks they've given up so far, Derek Carr. So he's played well, but we've got to hit him hard, hit him early. He's averaging 300 yards a game. But as we've proven against, or we saw yesterday, quarterbacks putting up big numbers does not necessarily mean you're going to win the game. So it's going to be interesting.
I do have 2 predictions for today's game. First of all, I think that it's going to be a big game for Derwin James. I think we're going to see him come alive and really make a big impact on national television. And I think the other one is that Herbert is going to use his legs much more than he has done in previous games. I think he's going to run. I think he's rolling out a lot. I think, that right tackle will let them rush at you, let Herbert come out and get in motion and fire the ball downfield. They're my 2 predictions.
Any final thoughts, Dan, before we wrap up?
My final thoughts are, yes, we've said we want to keep the ball in Herbert's hands, and they'll want to keep the ball in Carr's hands. But I think from a Raiders standpoint, they'd be more nervous of the ball being in Herbert's hands than will be of the ball being in Carr's hands. And for that, I think that's just the basis of why I think we'll win this game.
I've got a bold prediction.
Go on. Get your hat ready.
100 yards net plus for Eckler and 2 touchdowns.
That would win me my fantasy matchup, my friend. So I'll take it.
Same here
as well. Look, guys, enjoy the game tonight. I'm sure we'll be tweeting back and forth. We can't use WhatsApp because it's not working at the minute. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for the questions. We'll be back in midweek to review tonight's game and look ahead to week 5. Cheers, guys. Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Bolt up.